All right, I think we're good to go. Just so everybody knows, I'll post the attendance at the end, but looking forward to it.
All right. I'm going to pin myself because I'm going to be jumping between devices here today. So if at any point in time what you're seeing on the screen doesn't make sense for what I'm talking about, just speak up, let me know, throw it in the chat. Feel free to unmute and talk throughout this session if you have questions or anything like that. We'll walk through all of this together today. All right, so my name is Brad Fessler. I am the professional development and content manager here at Sphero. I was a tech and engineering teacher for grades 9 through 12. Not terribly far away. I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm just north of Hershey. So I consider you guys local. I actually fly out of BWI all the time, so I'm driving right through your county all the time. So I consider you guys local. Unfortunately, at the last training that you guys did, I was across the country, so we had to fly Nate in to work with you. So hopefully, you guys, if you were at that training, had some fun with Nate, doing some hands-on activities as well. If you have any questions, like I said, throughout this, throw them in the chat or feel free to unmute and talk during the session. If you think of something later, feel free to send me an email. Is right there, brad.fessler@sphero.com. Send me an email. I'll be glad to help you out. So we're going to talk about Bolt, but just note that all of these things can also be done with our newest version of Bolt called Bolt Plus. Just quick show if anyone has played around with Bolt Plus yet? Anybody? Nobody? Bolt Plus is really fun. Just to give you an idea, it is a spherical robot, just like Bolt. Cool part about it is it has an LCD screen on it, and it does shake to wake. So you can see when I shake it, we get all kinds of cool stuff. I know it's a little hard to see with my lights on in here, and keeping it in focus on the camera, but really some cool features in there, and that screen is just amazing to play around with. So I'm sure you guys will upgrade in the future as you go through there, but you'll see some really cool fun features that go with Bolt Plus. All right, so just a reminder, working with Bolt, when you're connecting to robots, some of your best practices here are using what we like to call the Harry Potter method of getting connected. And the way the Harry Potter method works is one student at a time will take their device, they will search for available robots, just select any robot that's available. It will light up in the case. They pick up that robot and walk away. And then the next student starts that connection process to go through and get connected. Otherwise, picking up a robot and then trying to connect to it with Bolt is a little more cumbersome than just using that Harry Potter method. We've made changes to that with Bolt Plus, but using that Harry Potter method is definitely the best way to do it. We also have Find My Robot. So if all the robots get like kind of jumbled up on one big pile, students can go to that connection menu and see Find My Robot to identify which robot they're connected to there. We do recommend a 2-to-1 student to device ratio here. That is the best ratio to work with students and the robots. And we recommend what we call pair programming, where students are kind of, exchanging the programming device and working with each other to solve different parts of the challenges. So we are going to work with building rock, paper, scissors today. So this will be a hands-on lesson or activity. There is a lesson code. You'll notice my slide says activity code. We just recently changed our paradigm here to go from calling them activities to lessons. So forgive me if I jump back and forth between them. I'm trying to train my brain to only use lesson with that. So forgive me if I jump back and forth on that. But that code will allow you to actually access the lesson right in Sphero EDU. In this case, we are going to program it from scratch. So we're gonna start from the very beginning to do this. So create a brand new blocks program in Sphero EDU, and I call it RPS, rock, paper, scissors. Call it whatever you want, just so you know what it is, so you can use this as a reference later. This is a great way to build an example to show other teachers or students, when you're done with this. Think of this as your own lesson planning kind of time. So uh, attached to OnStart program, we have that stabilization block. And just a pro tip here with blocks, when we see a block, it has a color associated with it. So stabilization has that light blue color. If we look at the very bottom of our programming canvas, we have all of our programming categories there. And the movements category has that same color. So that means that's where that particular block lives. So everything's color coded when it comes to that. You will see today some of my blocks are a little bit different because we did create a new category. We split the matrix animations blocks out into their own category now. So forgive me if that color is incorrect in the slides. So we're going to add that stabilization block. We're going to set it to off. The reason we're going to set stabilization to off is we're going to use Bolt as a handheld device. You're going to pick it up. It's not going to roll around on the floor. You're going to pick it up, shake it, and that's how we're going to generate that random rock, paper, or scissors for us. So set that to off. Grab a scrolling text block, which in this case will now be under the matrix category if you have the updated version of the program. We did release an update as of the middle of June. So if you have the old version, it will still be under lights. If you have the updated version, it'll be under that like kind of bright pink-ish, fuchsia-ish color. And it'll be under the matrix category. And what we're doing with this set of 4 blocks here is we are setting up our program, we are turning off stabilization, and we are telling our player, our end user of the robot, what to do. So we're going to scroll that text and we're going to speak, shake me to play. And then we're going to turn the LED green so that they know, hey, the game's ready to go. We're ready to start. So I'll give it just another couple seconds there. And this is what that code looks like right in the app. Notice the scrolling text is a little bit of a different color here now. All right, well then let's jump to our next spot. And what we are going to do is we are going to create a variable. A variable is somewhere that we can store data in a program. The cool part with a variable is we can also change what's stored in the variable throughout our program. So we want to randomly pick rock, paper, or scissors. So we're going to use a number to represent rock, paper, and scissors. So we're going to do rock as 1, paper as 2, scissors as 3. So in order to do this, go down there to that variables category. You'll see I already have one made. You'll see the button there that says create a variable. You can hit that create a variable button, name it. I was super creative when I named mine. I named mine RPS, rock, paper, scissors. Feel free to name it whatever you like. just note that it can't be a command that's currently in Sphero EDU. So like if you're making a program and you wanted to change speed, you can't call it speed because that's already a command that's used in Sphero EDU. So you would have to change that up a little bit. You could call it something like velocity or something like that. So name it. Our category or type of variable here is going to be a number. A variable can be a string, which is text. It can be a number, which is what we're going to use. It can also be a true false statement, otherwise known as a Boolean. And it can be a color, which is an interesting category, maybe not always available in every programming language, but it is for Sphero EDU, which is essentially three numbers, right? A number for red, a number for green, and a number for blue, all stored in the same variable to give us a color. Once you have this variable named and the number, hit the little blue check mark there to create it. I'm gonna hit the X because I already have mine created. You'll hit that blue check mark to create it. And then you will see two blocks down here at the bottom. You're gonna see that oval RPS, and then you're going to see set RPS. And it has a little drop down here because if you had multiple variables, you'd be able to change which variable you're referencing here. Now we are going to build out our game design here. So when we build this, we want to build this out to actually set up our variable and set its value when we shake the robot. If you were using Bolt Plus actually has software buttons that you could just touch the button on the iPad instead of shaking Bolt Plus. With Bolt, it does not have the option to have software buttons. So you have to actually give it a physical input. So we're going to shake it. So we're going to use that on collision event. So you'll find on collision under the events category. And note that on collision does not need to be attached to any other event or anything like that. So here's an example of what that might look like on your screen when you do that. Notice I have my on collision just kind of hanging out here. It could be under it. It does not attach to any other event. So there's always a default event, which is on start program. And what triggers that code is hitting the green start button at the top. In this case, for on collision, the thing that starts that code is the robot detecting that collision. So go ahead and build this out. So you're going to do on collision, go under variables, grab that set RPS or whatever you named your variable. And then under operators, you'll find that random integer. And if you're new to this coding interface, you'll notice that random integer is kind of like an oval block. And right next to RPS, it has that 0. And that's also kind of an oval opening. That means that the oval block can get nested inside of there. And we're going to set this to a random int, which is an integer, a whole number, not a float, which is a floating decimal point. We want to do an integer, and we're going to do from 1 to 3. So again, 1 being rock, 2 being paper, 3 being scissors. Then we need to check and see what our random integer is. Once we've set it, we need to check and see what it is. So we're going to grab an if statement from our controls menu. Notice that if you have the new version of the app, you're not going to see the if there right away. But the little arrows that are down here, these are simplified. So we've collapsed all these blocks because we don't want to overwhelm our users. So we'll hit those. And now you can grab that if statement to bring it up into your canvas and attach that underneath set. And we're going to say if RPS is equal to 1, then we want to roll a rock, right? So we need to compare our variable to a number. So that's under comparators. We'll grab that 0 equals 0. And again, if you look at that, look at the shape where it says true, and look at the shape of the comparator. And then grab the RPS variable, put it inside the comparator, set it to equal 1. So if it equals 1, we want to speak the word rock, throw a matrix animation block in there. Don't worry about building the animation quite yet. We'll finish this block and then we'll come back to how that works here in just a moment. Cool part about this particular lesson is that the students have some creative freedom in designing their animation. They're actually going to design their own animation here, not just use a static one, which is really, really cool. If you're doing this with Bolt Plus, you can use images of rock, paper, or scissors, or even more fun, I like to use the hand symbols for those. So there is actually like the emoji icons, like a fist for rock, a flat hand for paper, and the scissors motion with the fingers for the scissors icon, which is really, really fun to throw those in there. We're going to display that animation for 3 seconds and then clear the matrix. Interesting. You cannot add on collision as an option. Do you have on collision on the canvas already? It's possible you can only add one on collision event. So if it's on the canvas already, it will be grayed out after it's added once. A trick to finding blocks that may be kind of hiding is hit the 3 dots that are up here and choose cleanup blocks. And what that'll do is it'll arrange everything in one long column. So then you might find where that block is maybe hidden in there. But on collision, yeah, there we go. We found it. Awesome. No problem. On collision is available with any of our round robots, including Mini. So you could do this even with Sphero Mini. You just won't be able to do the matrix animation. So you could set an LED color instead. After we clear the matrix, we then want to set our main LED back to green. And that just gives our user feedback to let them know, hey, we're ready for round 2. Give it another shake, right? All right, so let's go through, let me see here. It isn't letting me make the RPS to random. Okay, so let's take a look here. So under the variable, bring this up. Does it show a 0 here next to RPS? If not,
no, it's showing RPS to RPS.
yeah, so what that is when you created your variable, you were set to string, not a number. So delete that variable and make a new one and make it a number. We'll just give it a minute or two for everybody to kind of get to that point. So take your time. I don't want to lose anyone in the process. All right. So while everyone's working on that, just a couple pro tips here on some of the blocks we used. The speak block, anything you type into the speak block, the programming device will say, right? Bolt does not have a speaker built into it. It comes from the programming device, and it will say whatever it is that's typed into that block. The only exception to that is if the operating system of the device you have has a limited dictionary um, that doesn't have certain words, then it can't speak those words. So just a pro tip on that one for you. That matrix animation and clear matrix, they're only that color and in the matrix category if you have the new 7.0 or 7.1 version of the app. If you have an older version of the app, they will be under the lights category. All right, so let's build our matrix animation. So I'm gonna drag a new one in here, even though I already have one there. I'm just gonna drag a new one in for demo purposes. Once you have the block in here, just tap on the grid and it will pop up your animations here. Notice that there's a bunch of Sphero animations that are pre-made at the bottom. There's some really fun ones that you can play with there, but there's nothing in there for rock, paper, or scissors. And this is where we want to let our kids have some creative freedom and let them come up with their own rock animation. So I have one made already. I'm going to make a new one just so you can see the process here. So I'm going to hit the plus sign and I'm going to get an image of that matrix. Now, I'm going to use different colors for this. So I'm actually going to go down and select that like fuchsia color or whatever down here at the bottom. And I'm going to hit the color picker, that eyedropper. And I'm going to set this to like an orangish color and lower the brightness a little bit with that slider. And what that allows me to do is kind of select that brown, make that brown color. This uses RGB or additive color. So if you've ever done any kind of graphics work, you might be familiar with RGB values. So if you knew the value, you can actually type the value in here, or you can use the picker. I use the picker to set my brown. Now I can paint in the image of my rock. So if you make a mistake, grab the black color and you can paint that back in. So I'm gonna start with the border. I don't know, I find that to be the easiest way. That's just me, personal preference. And then I'm gonna paint in all those pixels. Now this is one frame. So an animation is a series of images shown on the screen really quickly, which is no different than video, right? Our video today, you're seeing at 30 frames per second being streamed here between all of us for this. It's 30 individual pictures happening and showing on the screen every second, right? We can build animation here at 30 frames per second if we want to. In our case, we're going to build the animation and then we're going to adjust the speed after that. Now, a rock here is just pretty boring, and this is only one frame, so it would just be an image, right? I want to make this an animation. So the way to do that is across the bottom set of icons above the colors, from left to right, we have the color picker, we have the undo, we have the move frame, add a frame, and the very last one on the right-hand side is duplicate frame. I'm going to duplicate the frame. So it copied everything that was in the previous frame and made it a new one. I'm going to grab the white color and I'm going to write in the word rock, or the letter R for rock to represent that. But I'm going to do it one pixel at a time. So I'm going to go here and then I'm going to duplicate the frame again and add another one. Duplicate, add another one. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I paint in my R the way I want. So there I have my letter R written in. And if I ever want to go back and change one particular frame, I can use the buttons here and I can scroll back through. So this is frame 1, frame 2. So every time I tap that button, that'll be the next frame. Once you have your rock designed, you can hit your check mark. If you ever want to preview the animation, it's actually really pretty cool. You can go back into it. You can hit the little bouncing Sphero icon that's there. Here we can see each individual frame. We can hit the sliders. Here's where we can adjust this. So if we wanted, mine has like 15 frames in it. So if I wanted this to take about 2 seconds, I'd want it to be like 7 or 8 frames, somewhere in there. 7 frames is going to be a little over 2 seconds. 8 frames is going to be just under 2 seconds. And while I'm in that menu, I can hit preview animation on robot. And when I do that, it's actually going to show me my animation right on the robot. So I can see what it's going to look like in real life right on my LED matrix. And if you don't like your speed, you can go back in and once you stop your preview, you can adjust that speed. You can adjust the frame. So if I need to adjust just one frame, I can click on it, hit the pencil to edit. Maybe I made a frame twice by accident. I can delete a frame here by hitting the trash can button. This really gives your students a ton of creative freedom. Once you have that created, and I'm just gonna drag this one to the trash for right, actually, yeah, I'm just gonna drag that one to the trash for right now because I already have one in there. We've only done this for rock. We still have 2 other options. So you could create all of this code right here, this part here, that's attached to the if statement all over again. However, that's a lot of work, right? When we only need to make a few changes to it. So if you press and hold, or if you're on a computer, you can right click on it and choose duplicate. What that'll do is it'll give you a copy of that code. This is for paper. So you're going to set RPS to 2, not 12, 2. You're going to set this to paper. And then when you go into your matrix animation, this is very important. Do not edit the one you just made. Hit the plus to make a brand new one. Now you can go through and do paper. So the one I like for paper, I like to have a little bit of dimension to my animation. So I do that. Then I do a duplicate frame. I'm going to do red. I'm going to spell out the letter P. Looks like I should have been over one row. Right. So there's my paper. If I want to go a little bit further and make the page, the folded corner of the page, unfold, I can duplicate a frame, put that in, duplicate a frame, put that in. So now I have drawing in my letter P, unfold the page corner. So you can see some pretty interesting animation as you go through. And then you would do the same thing for scissors. So the end of your code will look something like this. So you're going to have 3 if statements. RPS equals 1 for rock, RPS equals 2 for paper, RPS 3 equals RPS equals 3 for scissors. And again, you can do some really cool animations on this. Notice my scissors one doesn't have an animation. It's not actually an animation. So maybe I'll make it an animation. So I only have one frame here so far. I'm going to duplicate that frame and I'm going to make, oops, I'm going to make my scissors actually function here. So I'm going to make them move. All right, so I only have 3 frames to my scissors. So because I only have 3 frames to my scissors, I'm going to slow this thing way down. So we'll do it like that. Again, if you want to preview that, you can preview it on your robot, which is really pretty fun. So give you some time, build those in. Next time you're all in the office together, you can challenge each other to some rock, paper, scissors, especially when you're debating on who's going to do what for the day, right? We can see who the winner of the rock, paper, scissors tournament is. All right, I'm going to turn mine on. I'm going to start mine up here.
Shape me to play.
So there we can hear it. And it is actually scrolling my instructions on here across my screen. I'm going to give it a shake.
Scissors.
I got scissors. I'm seeing my animation, and then I went back to green on my display.
Paper.
I got paper.
Paper. Paper. Rock.
And there's rock. I got really lucky. Usually I end up like 10 of the exact same thing, and then I question if I coded it right. If you have that happen, or maybe you have a student that has that happen when they do this, double check their if statements to see if they changed what RPS equals. Because if they made all 3 of them RPS equals 1, it's only ever going to do rock. The other thing that's a common mistake is they don't set their random integer to 1 to 3. And if they only have it set 1 to 1, they're only ever going to get rock. If they only have it ever set 0 to 0, nothing is ever going to happen. I'll pull this up. It might be a little bit easier to read. All right, let's see here. So how do we set our true false to be RPS equals 1, 2, or 3? So it's actually a combination of two blocks. So one is our comparator, this shape. Let's see here. Let me switch over. It's this shape right here, and it is under our comparators menu. It'll say 0 equals 0. You can drag that up. Notice this shape is the same as the true false. You can drop that in there. And then you can grab your variable, which mine is called RPS. I can drop that into the comparator. So that's RPS equals, and then by default, it'll say a 0 here. Set that to 1 for rock, 2 for paper, 3 for scissors. So comparators menu, category, grab that 0 equals 0, nest the RPS variable, and then you should be good. I'll switch that back over to here so you can see, hopefully a little bit clearer. Anyone need a few more minutes to work through their code? If you do, feel free to throw a thumbs up there, or throw it in the chat, either way. No, all right. So let's take a look. Of course, it's always fun when you have a bunch of people there to compete with that. So enjoy it when you can, to run your code, test it out, challenge your kids tonight to a game of rock paper scissors. Use the robot instead. Some other games that are out there, because this session is titled creating hands-on games, right? Not just rock paper scissors. So there's a bunch of really fun ones out there. The game of Pong, it's actually part of our blocks, the fundamentals. That's out series of lessons. It's blocks number 4 is the Pong game, right? So Bolt is the ping pong ball, and your feet are the ping pong paddles, right? And it plays just like the old school Pong game, video game. So a lot of fun there. Another one is tic-tac-toe mystery, and I actually have that as a QR code here. So you could actually open up Sphero EDU and scan this one if you wanted to. What it is it's another phys ed kind of activity. So the kids are actually running back and forth. You would need 9 robots and 9 programming devices to do this. You would lay down a tic-tac-toe grid. I like to use painter's tape on the floor so that it doesn't ruin anything. You can lay it out, put a little bit of distance between where all the bolts are lined up, and they're all running this tic-tac-toe program. So you have both physical and mental agility in this activity. The students start at the start line. They pick up a bolt off the table. They give it a shake. They are assigned an X or an O. And then they run down to the tic-tac-toe board and they place it in the grid. They run back and grab another bolt and they give it a shake. Here's where things get interesting, because you're not permanently X and you are not permanently O. In this case, you may After you had X the first time, you may end up with X again. You may end up with O again. It is a 50-50, totally random chance of which one you get. So this is where strategy is interesting, because you might be setting yourself up to win in the next round, or you might be setting up your opponent to win in the next round because maybe you don't get X this time, maybe you get O. So it's really a twist on the game of tic-tac-toe. It's really fun. You know, if you want them to run more, maybe burn off a little more energy, right? Make the distance that they have to run a little bit longer. But it is really a fun kind of thing to do. There is an egg and spoon race where Bolt is your egg, right? And it is set to detect how much movement is there. So if you were to drop it or give too much input while you're moving with it, it's going to say you broke the egg. There's also the flashlight tug of war, which is really, really fun, where you're using two flashlights and Bolt is programmed to drive to the brightest point. So it's going to try and follow the flashlight. So you're trying to aim your flashlight and pull Bolt to your side to win. So that one's fun. Of course, hot potato is always fun. And then we actually have two Simon Says activities that are in there. And these are all block-based lessons that students use block coding to create. The snake game, just like the old school cell phone snake game, where you're trying to make the snake as large as it can on the screen without running back into itself, is actually a JavaScript program. So students would program this using JavaScript. It's really a lot of fun to play around with these. So lots of options out there to do some hands-on games. I do want to take a moment and talk about Sphero Central. So Sphero Central is our newest addition to Sphero. And what that is it's a platform to organize all of our content. So it does not matter what Sphero device you have, whether it's Bolt, Bolt Plus, Blueprint, Indie, Little Bits, all of our content is now in one location. So if you've used a variety of Sphero products in the past, you had to jump website to website depending on the product. That is no longer true. It is all in the same spot now. So I'm going to pull up Sphero Central. In order to get to Sphero Central, you just go to edu.sphero.com. So edu.sphero.com. Oh, try that again if I can type. There we go. Much better. Thanks, Darren. Appreciate that. And once you get to Sphero Central, you can choose the product that you want to work with up at the top. So today we were using Bolt. If you had Bolt Plus, RVR, or RVR Plus, or even Mini, or even any of our legacy robots that are still out there, Spark, Spark Plus, they're all out there. So you can actually grab lessons for that as well. Blueprint, Indie, Little Bits, they're all in here. You'll notice that I'm logged in. You don't have to be logged in to find content, but if you are managing a class inside of our LMS, you'll have to log in order to do that. So since we're talking about Bolt, let's focus on Bolt today. So I'm going to hit that Bolt Plus, RVR Plus, or Mini. Note that Bolt falls under that as well. So we can grab that. And as we scroll down, there's all kinds of getting started, here's how you can download the app. Here's how you can prepare it to deploy it to all of your students. As you scroll through these, There's demos on how to connect and drive, how to program, how to manage your class and build your class. And then, of course, lessons and resources. So let's take a look at lessons first. When you go to lessons, we implemented some lesson collections here earlier this year. And collections are just that. They're a collection of related lessons based on a topic or a robot, right? So we're talking about Bolt. So I'm going to filter here by Bolt. You can see we have an elementary math collection, the programming fundamentals, which are like all of your getting started activities from draw-based programming to block to JavaScript. The Pong game that I referenced earlier is in this collection. Okay? So there's a ton of different collections in here you can kind of play around with and explore. I'll jump into this one just because I referenced the Pong lesson. We'll go into the lesson. And once you're inside the lesson, you'll find that lesson code here. The lesson code is super helpful if you're not assigning lessons inside of a class. You can use the lesson code to direct your students directly to that. From there, we have your different steps, your instructions. So here we can see a animated GIF of how the game actually works. Right? And you can ramp this up. You can ramp up the speed. You can add variables in there or add like random numbers for the angle that it's going to drive at. Instead of just adding 180, you could add different numbers to it to make it go different directions, which is really cool how it just works its way through that process. A lot of fun. If you are assigning activities to a class, right here's the assign button. I already have a class made, so I can click on assign. I can choose which class I want to assign it to. I can hit submit. It will assign it to everyone that's in that class, and I can move on and go find some more lessons. Do know that there are way more lessons than what's in collections. If you go to Sphero lessons, there are a lot of lessons. Again, filter by robot. You can filter by grade band as well. You can also search. So if you know the name of an activity, but you don't know where it is, where you saw it, but you remember the name, you can actually type it in here. One of my favorite lessons to do with water, because Bolt is waterproof, is called hydrohypothesis. So you can go in there and search hydrohypothesis and it'll pop up for you. And you can find that, and there's a lot of content in here. We do also allow community members to share their lessons as well. So when you go under community lessons, these are literally lessons that other teachers have chosen to create and then share publicly. They do go through a moderation process just to make sure they're school appropriate, but nothing else from our team. So these are literally created by people around the world. So a lot of fun for that. We do also have additional resources. So when you go under resources, make sure you select the robot you're looking for. For Bolt, we have a bunch of different guides that are in here. If you've never explored the computational thinking guide, that's really cool. It even has some unplugged activities to get students thinking about computational thinking, which is really, really pretty cool. And our cybersecurity labs is another big hit if you're trying to teach some cybersecurity concepts. There are some videos in here, and then there's a ton more resources. We have a lot of 3D printed accessories that you can go out and just download the the STL files to be able to 3D print those accessories. So you can go there. We give those away for free. It'll take you to our Thingiverse channel. You can find things like ramps and different kinds of mounts and things like that are in there. We do have all of our different code mats. If you're into the competition side of things, we have all of our previous challenges for the previous Sphero Global Challenge seasons. So season 1, 2, and 3 are available for Bolt. So you can go out there and check out that content for free and play around with those. So we're constantly adding new content to this. Two other things I want to mention here is if you're ever helping other educators get started, you're the one leading the training, because I know a bunch of you probably do turnaround trainings and help each other here. We want to help you and support you as well. And we have created starter presentations. So right here is one that's a Bolt PD starter presentation, and there's another one here for Sphero Central and Sphero EDU. And these are designed for you to make a copy of. They're in Google Slides format, so you can make a copy of it, make edits to it, make it yours, and turn around and guide other educators through a training here. Feel free to use those so you don't have to start from scratch. If you do a turnaround training, they're right here for you to do that. They are generally set up to be about an hour long training. So if you don't have an hour for training, you can certainly skip some slides that are in there. If you have more time for training, you can certainly combine a few of these, and they are available in there for pretty much every product that we have. So a lot of fun things that were just released, and a lot of new things that are coming. So we just have another few minutes, so I want to open the floor to any questions that you might have. I know that was a ton of stuff in a short amount of time, so if you have any questions, please let me know. And again, if you think of something later, you can gladly email me later.
Brad, would you mind putting your email in the chat if
Oh,
anybody wants to grab it before they go?
no problem.
And also, everybody here, I don't forget about the attendance form to get credit for attending this session this afternoon. And Brad, thanks. That was cool.
No problem. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and hopefully you got a little bit of coding fun in there and can use it if you don't have a Bolt with you today. If you program this, you can connect to a Bolt later with that same device and run your program and test it out.